What is up, music teachers? Today, we're going to be talking about the true skill to creating a six-figure studio without needing to be good at marketing or sales beforehand. So, work with a lot of teachers who don't have a background in marketing, don't have background in sales or anything like that, that are really afraid to be able to learn those things because, or more importantly, they feel like they can't create a six-figure studio if they don't have those skills beforehand. So I do want to talk about the real truth about like what I've seen with music teachers, what I've experienced, what I have taught to help music teachers create six-figure studios. But more importantly, like what I've been able to implement in my life, not just for business and for coaching, but for my own like musical journey as a music producer as well. So I want to share all that. But before we get into it, like if you don't know me yet, what's up? My name is Ben. Along with being a music teacher, I also have been able to help music teachers build six-figure studios without needing to go down that route of like the traditional 40 students a week model. So, that's all to help them be able to have more secure income, but most importantly, be able to balance their teaching life without having to give up their musician life as well. So that's a really important part about why I'm even creating this video. Hopefully, why you're watching this video as well, but it's to contribute to that mission, to share the opportunity of music education with everyone. So I'm really excited to talk about this today. When most teachers join most teachers join the social media music teacher community, when they start working with me, we focus on the core foundations to set the path towards creating a six-figure studio. So usually it's not the marketing tactics. It's not the funnels. Like we don't get right into like creating content or anything like that, but it's really about becoming an irresistible music teacher. And I do treat that as a skill because it's something that a lot of us aren't good at, but we work towards it. We get better at it, just like music. So in this video, I want to talk about like what does that even mean? How do you be an irresistible music teacher? Because that is why my clients are not only earning more money, but they're making their life better in the process as well. They're having a transformation. So it doesn't mean that they like, also doesn't mean like our teachers don't practice the skill of marketing and sales at all, right? It's not like we don't focus on that, but they've learned the right skills to be efficient. They've honed in on their foundations of their life before they get into the marketing part, so that when they do, it becomes really easy. It just becomes another part of the life that they're working towards. Um, and I'll give you a hint. Like as we go through this too, a lot of these things are probably things that you teach your own students anyway. So, so let's go ahead and get right down into it. The problem that I see with most music teachers that's stopping them from getting to a six-figure studio is it's not that they're not good at marketing and sales, right? I see so many teachers that are I've talked to so many teachers who have or maybe on the cusp of getting to that six-figure level, but they haven't gotten past that. There's been a roadblock. They know what to do, but there's something inside of them that is stopping them from being able to know logically what they should do, right? If you have that feeling, like let me know in the comments as well. Um, but what I find is that it's not just the fear that is stopping them from being able to move forward, but it's also being distracted and looking at the wrong places as well. I feel like most music teachers that I work with, they are not in a place where they are feeling helpless or feeling hopeless, wondering what do I need to do, but they're in a state of like overwhelm where there's so many things that they could do that they end up not doing anything because they don't have any time, they don't have any energy for it. So it's kind of like for me when I was growing my studio during college, like I felt like there's so many things I needed to do. Like I needed to go out there and network. I needed to ask for referrals. I need to create a website. I need to start posting content on social media that like I end up not doing anything. I let it overwhelm me to the point where I didn't even want to keep teaching anymore, even though I was in my music degree, doing my music ed degree, right? So those conflicts that you probably have too, where it's like, man, I need to grow my studio, but I, there's so many things I could do. I don't have any time. I need to focus on my family. I need to focus on my personal life too. I need to focus on my performances. Those things, could get in the way, but that we it's really important that we focus in on the right place because it's not about how many things can I do to get more students? But what I found and what's made my life easier and more simple is really that, just like, how do I make things simpler, right? What are the only things I need to do to focus my time on? So the first thing to doing that is like getting better at the skills of marketing and sales. Yes, that will help you move forward, but more importantly, it's the energy you put into that. It's like it doesn't matter what car you drive. If you don't have gas, like, you're not going anywhere, right? So one, we need to figure out, where do we need to go? What is our destination? What kind of, not just what kind of studio that we want to have, but what kind of life do we want to have as an outcome of that? Because now every decision that you make will be, is this getting me closer or farther away than the life that I want to have? So that is the main thing. That is like what we need to do in order to create a six-figure studio. Like, before we even work on marketing, before you even work on the sales, we need to figure out what that foundation is. Where are you trying to go, and what do we need to do in order to, what do you need to do in order to become an irresistible music teacher, so that when the time comes where you do have a six-figure studio, are you going to be the person that sustains it? Are you going to be the right person that is able to support that type of business? And that's the deep personal work that I had to go through, that I bring my teachers through as well, and that I want to take you through in this video today. So I've showed you like the what we need to do. I really want to talk more about like how we do that now. You're probably thinking like, okay, Ben, yes, I need to become an irresistible music teacher, but how do I do that? Um, Comes with three things here. So I want you to write this down either in the comments or on your computer or wherever you're at, but I'll explain each one in depth as we go through it. So one is practicing what you preach. Two is living the habits of your future self. And then the third one is living free of judgment and expectations. So let's dive into the first one, practicing what you preach. The big problem I see here is that, like, it's really important. It becomes more increasingly important when it's focused around teachers not spending enough time working on their own craft. So lots of times teachers come to me looking for help to grow their studio so that they can have more freedom to perform. They can have more freedom to play their instrument. But here's the problem, is that if we feel like getting to a six-figure studio is going to allow us to do that, then you're going to hit a dead end, right? It's almost like the people who chase the fame, chase the money, and they think that's going to bring them happiness. If you're thinking like, I got to make the money, and I got to grow the studio to a place where I can have the time, where I can then have the time to work on my music, then we're working on it backwards. So what I tell my teachers, and what I've been focusing on myself now too, is making sure the music comes first, right, in my life. That is the fuel, right? Because if we don't have the fuel, if we're not practicing what we preach in terms of like even music, right, how are we supposed to give that to our students? So prioritizing music in your life is going to be the way that you create a six-figure studio. It's not, you don't create a six-figure studio to have to make the performance time, but it's about, how can we make your practice time happen now, while you are in the process, while you are in the journey, because that will get you to the six-figure studio that you want to have. So I'll give you an example. I have a teacher, Tristan. He's a piano teacher. um, One of his big problems was that he had such a full studio, like 30 students, that he didn't even have time to practice for himself. He didn't even have time to grow, because he was also focusing on his own recital and things like that as well. But once we started implementing like more of a hybrid model, be getting more groups into his studio as well. um he just started that. As of filming this video, he just started that like this week. So, but even before that, just being able to work towards that, what he did is he made time for himself to practice. He made time to focus on his own music, which then fueled his confidence level with being able to sell this new program to new students coming in as well. So it's not about waiting and working towards finally the time where you can focus on your music again, but it's focusing on your music now, so that that fuel can be put into the business as well. So practicing what you preach, especially really important with music, but more importantly as well in your life. So thinking about your habits, thinking about your standards, on, are you practicing what you preach? Like for me, like I I talk about having a healthy lifestyle, but it's not something I'm perfect with by any means, right? I try, I make a standard to go to the gym to get my sleep. I'm bulking right now too, so I'm like stuffing myself up with food. Um, but also I make mistakes, right? So, right now I'm not telling you like you got to be perfect. You got to be the preacher that doesn't, fall back, and make mistakes, but it's about moving forward. It's about continuing to strive for the excellence. That's what's really important. So in the comments, go ahead and write down practice what you preach. If that's something that really resonates with you. But if you got any questions about that too, feel free to let me know. Because the second one here is living the habits of your future self, which might be to practice what you preach. But what I see a lot of teachers doing as well is falling back to the things that they feel really comfortable with, which is totally normal, right? It's probably things that you see a lot with your own students, right? Them falling into the same bad habits that are getting them stuck. But what we really need to do is just be able to recognize that, be aware of that happening, and really just change. Just the sooner that you change the habit, the sooner that you are going to get to the goal. That it really isn't that there's really not that much like thought that needs to get into that. And as long as you treat what I'm learning as well is like these are things that you probably have been teaching to your students. These are probably things that you teach to your students as well. You know, living the life, like practicing how their idols would practice, right? So, but 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 oftentimes, those problems are reflected in us as well. So if you're finding yourself doing the same things, falling back to the same habits, right? What we're really doing is we're living the habits of your current self. What we need to do is if we want to get to a six-figure studio, we need to become a teacher that is deserving of that, that has earned that has put in the work for that, right? Just like as you did for your own artistry. So that is a big thing that like a lot of the things that we do in our journey as musicians are things that we need to do in our journey in our studios as well as music teachers, as studio owners. So, what I want you to do is think about what areas of my life do I need higher standards in? What areas of my life does the future Ben have that I don't have right now? And just start doing those. Start doing those things. If that just means, hey, a non negotiable for me is making sure I take care of my family, then make sure you do that. Right? It doesn't matter what standard you put on yourself. Like it doesn't even matter to me. But what I care about is that you are setting a standard for yourself and that you are sticking to it. Because what you'll find is that, the fear of taking action and the fear of taking action will go away and the confidence of being able to step forward as a leader, especially when you're putting that in your content, that will shine through. Why? Because because at least for me, like I know how consistent I can be with, especially with things like content. I've consistently put out content for the past 3 4 years, but also for my music as well. And me myself as an artist, and as a music producer, I set my own standard that I would be serious and focus in on my music production and treat that as not just a hobby, but a skill that I'm trying to be a professional level at. And I feel like over these past 8 months, since January 1st, and right now it's September, so it's been a full 8 months, I have definitely gotten to that professional level sound. And it makes me feel really confident. It makes me feel really happy and proud of myself through that. But the only way I got through that was by, taking action despite having the stress, despite having the anxiety. That's what makes it all worth it, right? Is when you can accomplish something even through the struggles. So I want you to do that as well. Even if you feel like I don't have what it takes to live my future self or become my future self yet, like you got to keep going. Because especially for like one of my teachers' name is Sean, and one of his problems was that he was having a lot of parents miss lessons, a lot of parents who were maybe resistant of the price, But what we really need to do and what we worked on was just setting his boundaries and setting and enforcing them so that he is not someone that can be walked all over, but he is someone that can lead other people as well. And that helped him be able to raise his prices confidently. That helped him be able to retain his most committed students as well. But that's also what's helped him be able to reach towards his, that's reaching towards his 5-figure months as well. So I want that to be the same thing for you as well. I want you to feel that transformation, but it really starts with taking action, even with having those feelings of anxiety or feeling those anxiety, like those feelings of stress, right? So continuing to move forward. So the last thing here I want to talk about is the third one: living free of judgment and expectations. So this is a really big one, especially for us musicians when we get frustrated with, man, we're not progressing fast enough, or I'm not good enough for that performance, or I'm not good enough to release this music. Like it's the same thing with like the business as well, right? And a lot of teachers, I see them getting frustrated not having results, or more importantly, like this is the bigger one, but being afraid to post because they feel like they're going to be judged. They feel like they know what the expectation is going to be out of them. Like and then what that does is it stops them from taking action. So my solution here is pretty simple: keep going, right? Is keep going in spite of those things. But this is something that I got out of this book. I think I've talked about this in another video, but it's called The Creative Act, and I highly recommend it because it's a way of living as a musician. And being able to live as a musician should not be any different than living your life as a business person, as an entrepreneur, right? Because the way that you live your life in music is the same way you're going to live your life outside of music. It's the same way you're going to live your life in the studio and outside the studio. It should all be very congruent, and knowing how you should live in all parts of your life and making sure there's congruency there. That's what's going to allow you to be able to take action a lot easier. So right now, like for me, when I post, I don't have any expectations of it other than I want to put everything that I have in my heart into the content. That's the only thing that I am really expecting out of this. I'm not expecting a bunch of likes. Every time I get a subscriber on this YouTube channel, like I get really surprised. I'm like, wow, someone actually took the time to subscribe and wants more of this. So I didn't grow this to be a big YouTuber or anything like that, but I want to use YouTube as a platform um, to really make consuming the content easier, so that anyone that does follow me, that does value all of this, has a really easy way to go through it. That's my intention with putting this on YouTube. But as a result of not having any judgment, not having any expectations, I've gotten a lot of great feedback from this. I've gotten a lot of people who have really enjoyed it, who have binged it. Like I've had teachers who have joined the community and been able to start working with me just because of this channel as well. So it's really given me lots of joy and lots of gratitude knowing that like I'm just putting my heart and my my mind out there and being able to speak my truth. Um, so the thing with this though, living free of judgment expectations, it's not just not caring about the results. I think I want to put that distinction out there. It's not about not caring about the results, right? But it's about having a balance. And that's what the Creative Act really taught me. It's having a balance in your life, right? So this balance, what I need to kind of teeter on is having that balance between being results oriented. Yes, I do care about results, and because the results is what's really going to show. I care about the results in the way that like I want there to be progress, right? And especially with my teachers, I want there to be progress as well. So having balance between being results oriented but also focusing on the process is really important. And it really boils down to intention. So being able to focus on the process intentionally, like being able to create things intentionally without having that expectation, that's what's going to allow you to show up better with the content. That's going to allow you to show up better in your teaching. And in turn, you'll retain students longer. You'll create more valuable content, not being afraid of just giving everything out there. Um, and that's the same thing with like my music as well. It's it's been a really like interesting journey. It's only been 8 months of my music production journey, but I've learned so much, especially with like taking lessons myself and things like that. That I've learned that I want to make music for myself, just for me, right? Not because I'm trying to get anything out of it. Like I, on one end, I have the goal of performing on the biggest stages and collaborating with the biggest producers out there, but also I'm not attached to that, right? I can have that balance. I can be able to focus on the process and focus on just making music that I really like. Um, and the results that I've seen because of that has proven that claim, right? Like I've gotten so much traction on my music in terms of just my friends. My friends are all really supportive of me. I wasn't even asking for any support, but being free of that judgment has allowed me to be able to show up with myself 100%. That's the only thing I can control. So I want you to do the same, be able to live free and have that balance between, yes, being results oriented, but also focusing on the process and being intentional with not being like with not having any judgment. Don't have any expectations for what you put out there, but really have intention. So, my goal here, my goal here is not just to give you the skills, the marketing, and the sales to create a six-figure studio, but I really want you to have a transformation, and that transformation just really starts in being able to take action. So the goal here, especially the goal with where a lot of clients work with me, is I want you to be put in an environment that allows you to feel empowered enough to be able to take action. So think about that for yourself, but also I want you to think about how can I apply all of these things? How can I start setting better standards, practicing what I preach in my life starting today after this video? I have another video on that, by the way. If you want to check it out, it's like I think it's called the clearest path to creating a six figure studio. I could probably link it down in the description. Um, but that's what you could do with your own students as well. So if you want something more actionable, like a worksheet, I have that in there. But the last thing here is that word environment, right? I want you to be put in an environment, whether that's working with me or or just looking out for other people to collaborate with. Like doing this alone, obviously the slowest solution, right? Like you watching this, you're a teacher, you know that, right? That's why you teach. It's because you want to help people get there faster. What I encourage you to do is that if you are looking for that support, looking for that accountability, or if you just want a chance to chat and connect with me, because I know this video is going to be on YouTube, um, join our Six Figure Studio community, right? I'll leave that in the comments or the description. But that's where you can connect with me, ask me any questions around this. If you got any feedback questions, I'd be happy to help. But that's where you can connect with the other teachers as well. And that having that community, having that environment, that's where I want you to start looking for. So other than that, hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.